Hello there. Lovely being with you this morning on this very cold but sunny day. And hope you're all doing well. And we're going to continue our exploration of samadhi, of meditative experience of nourishing our heart, minds, and bodies in a very healthy, sustainable way. With our inner resources. That's our plan for this week. That is how I would describe the path of samatha as we practice it. A few words before we dive in. We are on this new platform. It might be still fresh and new to a few of us. We get used to it with a bit of patience. So let me help you out a bit. We have a chat box like we did in on other platforms, and you find it with this little icon. Square icon at the bottom of the screen maybe, and this is where all the messages run through. This is where you also can put your questions, your reflections, maybe your concerns, and just write a message, something like reflection or sharing, so that I know that it's supposed to be read by me and responded to. And the other thing is that if you want to come on screen, and it worked fine yesterday, and I was delighted to see a few faces of yours, there is the hand icon below the screen, and feel free to use that if you want to come on screen in the last third of our session. So first third will be me talking a bit about today's inspiration, which I want to give to you. Next part will be about our practice together, where we hopefully feel out everything I talked about. And last part will be sharing your experiences, your questions, all of that. And you can then either write something in the chat, as I mentioned, or raise the hand, raise this hand below the window. Any technical issues you might have, George is in the background. He's helping us out. So please just type it into the chat box, and he might have some idea how to resolve that. And finally, just to mention donations is, this platform is running on donations. We teachers offer our teachings on donations, and we're very grateful for everything you can offer, as big or as little and small and humble as it might be. Everything is very much welcomed and coming from your hearts. So much appreciation for that. And for those of you who wish to give something, there is the link in the chat box. George put it at the very top of the chat. And for those of you who are on the phone, you might not be able to see that. So it's sangha.live/donate. Sangha.live/donate. Yeah, exactly. So I think that's everything for the introduction, and now let me talk about something really important this morning, which will be the difference between concentration and samatha practice. Yeah, that might be something to wrap our heads around this morning. So we all come with a certain set of tools and preconceptions to our meditation and mindfulness practice. It can't be avoided. We get taught in school or at home or from our surroundings already when being very little what concentration actually is. And most of us were connected to schools maybe, see concentration as something which takes a lot of effort and takes a lot of strength. And we bring that concept to meditation practice. And I think this is the way we need to focus. This is the way we need to concentrate, for example, on the breathing. And for a lot of us, this idea of meditation gets sour very quickly. Yeah. Now, I wish to differentiate this morning between a practice of concentration and a practice of samatha. Two totally, at least for my taste, totally different things. If we confuse them, this will have a deep impact on how we practice and how we evaluate our practice. So it's important that we talk about this. You might then discover something about your practice this morning, which gives a fresh perspective upon it. Let me first clarify what actually concentration is, or my my understanding, my personal at the moment definition of concentration. So for me, concentration is the willful act. Yeah, have a clear intention, the willful act, and it takes effort to bring and keep the attention on a certain object. It's like we bring the attention there. You might notice it from meditation. We yank it back to the breath. We set it upon the breath, and we try to hold it there. We try to keep it there. During this act, we try to exclude all other experiences. Yeah, there is only this one object, and this should be the sole experience in the attention. Everything else is perceived to be a distraction. Yeah. So there is almost like one acceptable experience, and all the rest which is going on becomes a potential distraction. Doing so, it's almost like we very narrowly focus the lens of our attention. Imagine attention to be the lens of a photograph. Very narrowly focus that on one single experience. And just with the photo, and I think the eye is doing the same. If you want to focus something very small and focus on it narrowly, it takes a lot of effort and energy. It is a strain over time. Yeah, the muscle gets strained. And just imagine when you were doing your math homework. I'm doing a lot of math homework with my daughter, and I can see the effort it takes. That really was an act of willpower, and it really was an act of extension of energy. Yeah, sometimes with the price of exhaustion afterwards. This form of concentration is one aspect in which our mind and our attention can work. It's very much, and you might have noticed this, highlighting self-reference. I am concentrating, or I am not able to concentrate. Yeah, I direct the mind. I bring the mind from here to there, or I'm not able to bring the mind from here to there, and all kind of self-references, all kind of a sense of guilt or shame of not being able to, being a bad meditator. All of that can be concentrated to this act of willpower. Just interesting to see here how self-reference, I, me, mine, is closely linked to anything which we think of doing with willpower. Yeah, that which decides, that which controls, is so narrowly, closely linked to the sense of self. Now, we might think that, well, yeah, it takes effort, it takes energy. Maybe I get better at it over time, like the muscle of willpower is strengthening and I can keep the attention there longer. But as we sometimes don't see an alternative route, yeah, that's just how it is, and just need to sit on the cushion and breathe in, breathe out, breathe in, breathe out. And on those days where that doesn't work, frustration can really flare up. I would like to talk or offer or inspire a different route of seeing our practice. In my understanding of the ancient Buddhist texts, there is an alternative route. And for example, in the Anapanasati Sutta, where the Buddha talks so much about soothing and calming and gladdening, and then again soothing and calming and gladdening, first the body, then everything which comes out of the heart mind, all those impulses and reactions, and then the heart mind itself. Yeah, soothing, calming, gladdening, over and over again, very patiently and very persistently. And that is a very different route. Yeah, the Buddha compared chitta, the heart mind, which we were talking about this week, to an agitated animal. He compared it to horses and elephants a lot of the time. I think my interpretation again, to underline as well, the beauty. I think elephants have a certain beauty to them, and they were very much appreciated in ancient India, but horses as well, beautiful animals. But also they come with quite a strong, fierce nature. So we can imagine that, and he said it in the Dhammapada, the mind can do beautiful things and come to beautiful states of kindness, of openness, of settledness, of calm, and it can get itself into all kind of troubles. It can get very impulsive. It can get very constrained, contracted. He said when it's not trained properly. So we have both. We have the beauty and we have the potential trouble that our heart minds can run into. And from this image, I take away that we are caretakers of this heart mind. It's our job to kind of become very skilled caretakers of this heart mind. And part of this caretaking process is what we're already involved in, is the meditation aspect. And this meditation aspect, due to the ancient texts, has so much soothing, calming, gladdening in it. There's nothing, there are a few texts where there is a certain directiveness, I mean, not allowing the heart mind to go everywhere and do all the impulses it wants to do. So it gets strict. It gets a few borders. We don't do that. We're talking about ethics here. But at the same time, there's nothing harsh or moralizing. In our contact with the mind. And the Buddha very often emphasizes that there is a need to soothe and calm and gladden the mind so that these impulses will, over time, become fewer and less. So it's not about moralizing, it's not about having high expectations and giving no support to the heart mind. On quite the contrary, a lot of support, a lot of resourcefulness, and then the heart mind can develop all its beautiful capacities. So how do we do that? Well, that's part of what we explore this week, but just to put it in a nutshell, is to say we develop the skill to accompany or to invite our mind to places. Come here, look at that, feel that out, taste this, be with me here. Places which have a beneficial impact on us. Now that sounds aloof, very simple thing. For example, putting the feet on the ground and feeling the stability there. Mind is all agitated, the bird or the butterfly or the horse is just galloping around. And every now and then, whenever we have the capacity, we feed it a morsel of this impression of feet on the ground, savor a sense of stability, and then off it goes again. And we do that a couple of times. Feed it persistently, patiently. We might have this rocking rhythm of the breath, which brings something soothing, something almost, very kind, caring impression to the heart mind, saying, feel this out. Once, twice, and see how the heart mind reacts to it. And all that leads to something which is very important, samadhi, and the whole path of samatha practice emphasizes and is a state of well-being. We are nourishing in an upward cycle the sense of well-being within us. When the Buddha describes the jhanas, those meditative states which are part of samadhi, he describes them as a whole body experience, not a narrow focus, but a whole body experience of well-being. So when the heart mind settles, when the calm arises, it can be somatically felt. You can trust in your body that you will know the appropriate way to practice, that which feels soothing, calming, nourishing, settling to the whole body, that is appropriate. We had that yesterday. All these questions of, is it okay to do this? Is it okay to put my hands on my body? Trust in your body. What is the resonance of what you're doing? Is it contributing to the sense of calm, soothing, nourishing? And then it's appropriate. This is what caretaking of your heart mind is your job. So if the heart mind reflects back, oh yeah, I like that, feel free to continue doing that. And then we have almost two tools. I don't want to say that concentration. Don't want to say concentration has no place in our practice. I find concentration has a place in my personal practice when I almost need to cut through entanglements. I would call it a tool which is very close to a sword or a knife concentration. High effort, That sometimes I know an impulse is coming up, which I know it will be harmful, will bring me onto a route of thoughts which I know will bring just misery, just misery. I don't want to go down that road. Or an impulse in a conversation or in a challenging situation, saying no to that. Yeah, really a form of safekeeping. A very strong emotion which wants to carry me away, maybe flaring up of fear, of anxiety. This is where I use concentration like a sword to cut through, to say, okay, now just the inhale and just the next exhale and just the next inhale and just the next exhale until something in the body settles. Yeah. This form of concentration can bring some immediate calm. For me, it's an emergency strategy. Yeah, so that which maybe is harmful or distracts strongly can fall away or can diminish in the amount in which it occupies attention. But I'm well aware, due to my practice, that this form of concentration can be upheld only very short time spans. Yeah, that costs so much energy, it costs so much effort. It can't last for long. And especially if you have been on a meditation retreat and try to practice only based on concentration. After day 3, no, not even day 3, I don't think you come so far. Maybe day 2, maybe day 1.5. You notice how you develop a resistance. Oh, not again. Yeah, not again. I feel tired. And it's almost not possible anymore to get the mind to concentrate together because it has a resistance towards this outflow of energy. It feels exhausted in this narrow contraction. Yeah, and right so. We're almost in the center of Sama Vayama, appropriate effort, right effort, as the Buddha said. And only concentration is not appropriate effort. Yeah, no one can do that. Samatha practice offers an alternative. It says, well, we come from patience and persistence. We're showing the heart-mind beautiful places to settle into. We calm it, we soothe it, and then something happens which we might not even be aware of if we only practice the concentration way, is that if the mind is starting to calm and starting to feel nourished and starting to feel safe, it will develop a capacity to naturally rest on a slightly pleasant experience. Yeah, it says, oh, actually, it's quite relaxing to be just breathing, to be just sitting. Yeah, now that I feel nourished, now that I feel calmer, now that I feel safe, there is no need to run right, left, and center all the time. I can appreciate this sense of calm and stillness, and I settle into this. Yeah, speaking from the heart mind's perspective. But that is a process we're building to. Concentration is kind of the quick fix where we get an immediate result. And we tend to trust more into that quick fix, yeah, because we see something immediately, rather than building slowly up this process of samatha. Finally, let me say 2 things, and then we're going into practice. Samatha practice is not about ignoring the challenges in our lives. They are there. Yeah, we all have human existence is a challenging one. But I believe that we need to meet those challenges well prepared. We need to come from an inner resourcefulness, and this is where my practice has its place. To say at times there are appropriate times to turn my attention away from that which is troubling, away from that which is needs to be fixed and done and planned out, towards something which is soothing and calming. I decide to dedicate this next 20 minutes, 30 minutes to calming, nourishing, soothing the mind only. So that an inner stability and well-being can strengthen. And when I did that, deliberately gave time to that, then I get back out into the world. Then I feel ready to meet the challenges. But that I really dedicate some time to say, okay, I'm allowed, I have permission to put all that to side for a moment. And not even, by the way, trying to be a good meditator is just one of those challenges. Put even that agenda aside and making it only about finding ways to soothe, nourish and calm the heart mind. And we can prepare that over the day, and that is maybe my invitation for this day, is to say, feed your heart mind joy and contentment all day long. Small morsels of it, yeah, every now and then. Practice. If we practice only in the moment we come to our cushions or our meditation period, whatever that might look like for you, it's almost like we have a completely unprepared mind. And of course, a lot will be then going on. We can do ourselves a huge favor and support this process of settling if we kind of caretake for the mind over the whole process of the day, not talking about being mindful all day long, but about feeding the heart every now and then a small morsel of a nourishing impression. Look at that flower that is beautiful. Feel that sunshine for a moment, which is on your skin. Remember a caring conversation you had with someone. And maybe just this idea of staying with this for 2 to 3 breaths, bathing the attention in that, and then off you go. Day continues. Yeah. But this is already this invitation to settle and rest with something pleasant, so that it can almost die, that it can almost color the heart mind in a positive, nourishing way. So then you come to your meditation, and the heart mind is already prepared, a little bit more prepared to settle. And if you have no time to meditate, I would prefer this practice rather than trying to come with a completely tired, exhausted, or reactive mind to practice and be frustrated that you can't concentrate at all. Okay, that were my impressions for this morning. And now we're going to practice together. As usual, sit, stand, lie down, walk. That's totally up to you. And we're going to feed our heart minds joy and pleasant experience if possible. But first of all, we're going to settle into meditation, ease into the meditation. Always the same process I want to show you. First, taking inventory. How am I this morning? Hello, dear body. What would you like to show this morning? Where's the energy? Where's the heaviness? Where does it feel? Maybe tender, contracted, open, soft. And just see how easily we attach a story to those impressions. Like that means that is because that makes me such and such a person. That is additional. You can just see the body as a messenger who comes in and says, oh, that is achy, that is tense, that is broad and wide and open and soft. Thank you for the information. Now we shift, like we used to do the past days, our attention to thoughts and thinking, looking at the pace of thoughts, how much they urge us to be thought. Maybe there's a lot of commentary or judgment. Or maybe you notice that there are Some quiet pauses in between one thought and the next. Now we come to our realm of feelings, moods, emotions, anything present for you this morning. Might have a name and a label to it, or it might just be a vague sense. All fine. Or there might not be much at all, which is okay too. And finally, we check in with the quality of our attention, choosing an anchor like the feet, the hands, the breath, listening, or maybe even looking at something. And just see how if it's possible to connect with that anchor you chose and to stay with it. And if not so, just an information. Just information not about you as a person, but about the quality of attention this morning. Okay, now let go of any specific focus and just sit or just stand or just lie down for a moment. Maybe not even trying to meditate, just be, just be. And if the mind is all over the place, well, that's it done. Maybe there comes a slight relief when we say it's not a problem. Yes, it's all over the place, and it's not a problem. Noticing how these moments of meditation create a very safe environment where everything can be felt, And as you don't act upon these impulses, you're very safe. Your environment is very safe. So maybe give yourself permission to just be. And if you would like to, you can just scan your experience, that which you hear and feel, maybe see. Feel free to open up your eyes. That which you feel within the body, or a memory or an image. Everything which brings a slight sense of well-being. Just something maybe beautiful or heartwarming. And just stay with it for one inhale and exhale, as if you show something beautiful, nourishing, petite to your heart mind, for just an inhale and an exhale. And then let it go again. Let it go again. Invite your mind to drift again. If you feel some concern, some inner caution against this practice, it's an experiment. If it doesn't work for you after 30 minutes, feel free to never do that experiment again. And we do that again. You scan your experience for anything which is just mildly pleasant. Bring your attention to it as best as you can for one inhale and exhale. And let go of it again. Just be, allow your mind to wander, to drift. For some of us, it might be very pleasant to have a very neutral, almost cool experience. Nothing exciting or intense at all. Sometimes the mind needs to be fed something very simple. Maybe just the feet on the ground. So please continue with this permission to drift and to be. And every now and then, when your mind remembers mindfulness, you show it something calming, soothing, nourishing, with just one cycle of breath. And after that, can you let consciously go of the effort to hold the attention there? Just check that you don't come into a habit of hunting pleasant experiences, one after the other, one after the other. That can be stressful too. Maybe the pleasant experience can be found in this permission to not having to do much at all. Maybe this freedom, this permission feels slightly pleasant. You can feel that out. Maybe you notice that your mind attaches to unpleasant experiences, contracts around something. That would be natural too. So if you have the next exhale, maybe make the same conscious effort to just let go into being, saying, I've seen that. Thank you, mind, for showing me. I give myself permission to just be. Be broader than that, be wider than that, be more than that. No need to come up with exciting things. They might be challenging to find right now. Choose something very simple like the light touch of the lips together, the rocking rhythm of the breathing, the play of light and shadow behind the closed eyes. Small is beautiful. Some of us quickly get back into a habit of concentrating, trying to stay with something. Really give yourself permission to let go after the first breath cycle. If the mind wants to stay there, that is lovely. We close the practice with a small check-in of the quality of our attention. Once more, choose the anchor you chose right in the beginning, the feet, the hands, the listening, the breath. Just invite your mind there. And stay with it for a while. Just see what happens now. Has the quality of attention changed? Okay. And then we gently start moving and stretching, yawning and sighing. And when you feel ready, you come back to the screen. So, I wonder how you felt with this practice, and I'd be happy to hear your responses to it now. Maybe while you come back from your practice, just two things I really find remarkable about this practice. First of all, it shows me that mindfulness gathers, comes back on its own. Yeah, I allow the drifting, I allow the uh, wandering of the mind, and I can almost see how, after a while, mindfulness re-establishes, almost is ready to contact something again. That is a huge relief for the sense of I, me, mine, the controller. I don't have to do it on my own. I'm not the one, I don't have to be in charge all the time. And the second thing which can happen after a while is that you give permission to the heart mind to drift again and wander. And you might notice every now and then that this is, actually, I like this kind of breathing so much, or actually, I like this kind of physical sense so much, I stay for another breath or two. Yeah. And to see that this what we call first concentration, and think we have to make it with an effort. It establishes on its own when the mind is mature, ready to do so. So these have been two things which have been really helpful for my way of practicing samadhi. Now, you're invited to type into the chat box any concerns or questions or anything you might want to reflect on or share with us. You can use the hand to come on screen. And I have two questions from yesterday, which I said I would respond to. Someone wrote that sometimes I'm getting cold while sitting, and I'm not sure whether to stay with it or grab a blanket. Can you say something to that? Yeah, we had someone yesterday saying that they get warm during practice or they get cold during practice. Have a blanket close. And when you notice now the body temperature is shifting, body perception is shifting. Can you grab the blanket in a mindful, calm way? Kind of making it part of the practice, moving meditation now, and just to see that you don't stir up too much waves. Just a calm, relaxed putting of the blanket around and then settling back into whatever you are doing. So make it part of the practice. I find it, and maybe even take then the pleasure out of it. Now I feel the warmth of the blanket and I can make that the fresh anchor. I can make that the food. I can reflect back to the heart mind. Yeah. So that would be my suggestion. Someone else wrote, yesterday I was very, very busy in my mind, and I got a relief seeing this at the end of the session writing. Someone wrote, I find it hard to settle and hard to find the question, reflection, as I'm not in contact with myself and finding that shameful. Yeah. Just notice how the image of the good meditator who has a calm mind creates shame when we come on a cushion, and quite the contrary is present for you. Yeah, all over the place, running backwards, forwards, the horse kind of galloping. I find it almost a diminishing picture of saying I should be able to come on the cushion and have a calm mind. Yeah. Maybe we do this taking inventory, and we see over time that we have very different minds based on very different days, based on what was going on in the conditions of our lives. And I caretake for that mind no matter what shows up. But that is the heart mind. That is not me. That is not mine. That is not who I am. Now, caretaking for the horse, caretaking for the elephant, caretaking for the butterfly, caretaking for the bird, but not making yourself who to that which the mind displays at the moment. I think that can be a relief to the experience of shame. Thank you. Now, there was a question from Alana. Could you talk about the difference between concentration and using an anchored or purposefully placing the attention? My mind drifts easily to habitual thinking, planning, strategizing, and it does take mental effort to even gently redirect. Yeah, great, Alana. Now, it's of course a definition every one of us has. What do we understand when we talk about concentration? But I would say concentration is this willful act of, one, connecting with something, and two, keeping the attention there. Yeah, against the dynamics of the mind. I find this is important. Yeah, against the dynamics of the mind. I have to yank, I have to force, I have to bring up a lot of energy to keep it there. And what you might see at the moment is that, say, the mind easily drifts, or maybe habitual thinking, maybe it's stressed out, maybe it doesn't feel very safe before it has planned out and strategized everything. That is part of many of our minds working. And to say, well, I can go against this drive, against this habitual energy of planning and strategizing, or I can accept that this is what the mind is currently involved doing. Yeah. And every now and then, when mindfulness emerges, when capacity emerges, I show the mind something else. Yeah, show the mind something else. Then it switches back to planning, strategizing. Then the next mindful moment comes up. I feed it a morsel of, oh, look, there's sun on my skin. Feel that out. The mind says, oh, yeah, but I have to go to tomorrow and the day after tomorrow. I have no time for this, like the rabbit in Alice in Wonderland. And off it goes again. But just try it out, Alana. What happens if you feed those morsels having confidence that over time the mind will stop clinging to the planning and the strategizing and turn towards that which is pleasant? What if you dedicate this practice of feeding breadcrumbs of present experience over and over? So that would be working with the mind rather than working against the mind, which is, for me, to put it in a nutshell, the difference between a willful concentration and a kind of a nourishing, harmonious practice. Okay. So Caroline has written a question. She says, I was very fatigued during the meditation because of a poor night's sleep, so I felt quite dull with very little thought, almost falling asleep. I could feel a little bit of pleasure every now and then, but wonder if it's good to meditate when you feel like this, as it doesn't feel like meditation. Great. I was trying to care for myself, but I felt low. Oh, yeah, Caroline, excellent question. What to do with tiredness? Because we have the sense of we should be on, we should be in touch, we should be seeing clearly. And the dull mind can't bring up the energy to do that. Maybe I share from my personal practice. I love to do a meditation when I come back home from work, which is around early midday, so 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock, before the kids come home, because I want to kind of settle the old energy on from work and kind of quote unquote reboot, and then the kids come home. Almost always when I do that, and I do that lying down, by the way, I fall asleep for the 10 first minutes. It's just like the energy cost of the morning is taking its turn on me. I fall asleep. I allow the heart mind to rest. Kind of sleep is what it really needs. And when I wake up again, I have a freshness in the mind, and I can practice for the next probably 20, 25 minutes with much more energy and much more presence and clarity. So if meditation leads to this kind of power napping, where you wake up later and have a clear mind, I find this actually a very positive thing, because something has become very resourced through the practice. You have taken care of the mind. That is absolutely appropriate. And you write, and I find that a very interesting sentence, it doesn't feel like meditation. Well, what is meditation then? What is meditation if it is not caretaking for this body, heart, and mind? Yeah. And sometimes can we take into account that sleeping might be at times the best way to caretake for body, heart, and mind, which is possible. Yeah. So John is writing, my job is very intense, and I find it almost impossible to voluntarily and spontaneously become present enough to connect with something pleasant and nurturing. Apart from setting intermittent alarms, which can be very annoying for others, yeah, can you suggest any other strategies? Yeah, that is so true. I tried to do that in my workplace, and my colleague got completely irritated by the gong, which went off every 20 minutes. So I needed to find another solution as well. I have a practice, John, which I wish to share. It is, I take an anchor, a very simple anchor, like leaving a room or booting up the computer or taking up my phone. And I try to just, in that very moment, I do that. I try to be present. Just what is the most obvious experience right now? Maybe, John, as you wrote, something pleasant might not be at hand. The mind might be very negative or frightened or contracted. So it would be an over effort to find something pleasant. So can we invite just to be present and just ask the attention, what is the most obvious thing right now? I would say that's a good start. Now, we might feel resistance to that practice because, and I find that understandable, we all have or many of us have now the experience and say, okay, the first moment I remember that I wanted to do this practice is when I'm at night in bed, yeah. When I'm and then I remember, oh gosh, I haven't been mindful once. What if that is not a problem? Yeah. But the moment you remember you wanted to do that practice is the moment you can ask the question, okay, so what is most obvious now? Yeah. So that those moments you haven't been mindful, aware, present are not a problem. But the very moment you remember is the initiation of practicing this moment of awareness. For myself, it has been true that I have not remembered in those moments for a long time, but almost kind of got closer to them, remembered an hour after or 2 hours afterwards, and then it got closer and closer. And that might be a good way to just anchor in the present moment. Maybe an inhale and an exhale like we did now with the being aware, being present, and then off you go with your day, you know. So that we have those anchoring moments, this cutting through the narratives of our day more and more regularly through our daily life. I wonder what you think of that, John. Whether that sounds like something you would like to do. So, Faith has written something. If we follow the practice of noticing moments during the day to nourish our hearts, it might be nice to reflect at the end of the day on what some of these were and share them with each other. Yes, lovely, Faith. I like that idea. I had practitioners on my last retreat who had a email connection, and at the end of the day, they just wrote, I think there were 3 things they noticed. Some pleasant small thing, nothing exciting, no fireworks and roses and chocolate cakes, but just like the small things we usually don't notice. And they wrote that to each other. A very unexciting conversation, but it meant something. It gave persistence to their practice. Okay. So, anything else coming up? Well, tomorrow we're going to speak about practicing the breadcrumb style. So, more about these feeding morsels. We tapped into that today already, but we're going to work more with the perceived discrepancy between a concentrated or a settled mind and the mind which is all over the place, and what we can do, what we actually can do with that. And I have a practice style which we're going to explore tomorrow a bit more, which I call breadcrumb style. And maybe that is a helpful technique or additional tool to your practice, which you might already have well established. Okay. So thank you for coming and sharing today. It was lovely being with you. Enjoy your day. May you have moments of pause and presence every now and then to be really, not to be good meditators, but to be fed and nourished by them. Okay, so thank you for coming and see you tomorrow.